viewers, it's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And this is a Jupiter day with a Sun hour where I'm at. Sun is actually in the 8th house. She's applying to conjunct Sirius. The moon is in 27 degrees Aquarius, so it just crossed over the Algedy. It does oppose Venus, and it is exactly opposing Mars in Leo. So unfortunately, in Israel, we had another terror attack, guerrilla war, whichever you want to call it, in one of the settlements, and that's been like an ongoing thing. And unfortunately, there are deceased people. So yes, Moon bringing Mars into place also can bring aggression and violence. It doesn't at all have to be this way when you work with this energy, but on a mundane level, this is something that can happen. So it's Jupiter ruled ascendant with Mercury ruled midheaven. Mercury is already in the 20th degree of Cancer, Jupiter in the 10th degrees of Taurus, so in the 8th and 6th house respectively. The moon is in the 3rd house, and it is separating from a square to Uranus. So both Venus and Mars have separated from the square to Uranus, and actually, when I was looking during the Uranus-Venus square, I was looking to kind of calm my mind and watched Venus and Uranus videos, and I was looking for Venus-Uranus, but then I found Jupiter-Uranus from the astrology podcast, and I was kind of thinking Steve Jobs had Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And as we mentioned, it was about changing the way we think about technology. I was also thinking about IVF. I might be doing an episode because I don't know the history of IVF, but it kind of looks like, semen inside womb with technology that might be IVF stuff. And we are heading to Jupiter conjuncting Uranus, but that, like, we have still time to go for that. And I call it the big O of the sciences. Of course, it can be big O in many ways. Unfortunately, yes, it can be a religious explosion. So there are many things to do with that. It's just a couple of things that popped in my head. Now, before we go to the lunar mansion, the Sun will conjunct Sirius. So I don't know if I'm going to try and find an election today, but if you can try to set your chart and see if you want to take advantage of the conjunction of the Sun and Sirius during Sirius heliacal rise, I believe it does within that, then it's considered another opening of a new year. Okay, so you can manifest for the next new year. I remember last year I was doing that thanks to Lada Doncheva. And I actually got to speak with a very famous musician that was coming up with a new album, and I got to speak with them. And I didn't think it would come up in this way, but it was very, very fun and joyous, and a beautiful memory. Also, because I'm Jewish and Israeli, then they were interested in Kabbalah, which I don't know too much about. But the result was that I come into the chat, and the first line was like, "I'm so happy you could arrive," and that was a really joyous experience. That's very memorable. But also Sirius has to do with wealth, has to do with protection. I recently did a Sirius candle talisman, and just today my parent was helping me to clean up my kitchen, actually, to clean up my house, and I had to clean everything, and I found this candle. And then after going to her car, I saw this hound dog. Basically, I literally saw a hound dog, which is a symbolism of Sirius. So I did it a month before because the moon was growing there, but you can try for Sun conjuncting Sirius. So this is another beautiful thing happening that you can take advantage of. You can do it tomorrow. You might want to do it today, as the Sun is already like conjuncting. So these are beautiful things happening today. Jupiter is Jupitering. It's separating from a sextile from Saturn, and it kind of doesn't really apply. The Sun is separating from Jupiter. Try the Sun sextile Jupiter. So we're past the Sun sextile Jupiter. Although this is quite a lovely aspect. I do invite you over to Krasia Tassio's channel. She has beautiful elections for both Jupiter and Sun, and she has a course. She has a webinar on astrological magic. I also want to take this webinar, but then you'll have to scroll through Lada Doncheva because she didn't put a link to it in her website. So she will be doing some talismans, one for Jupiter in Taurus and with on the ascendant, and the other one is a Sol talisman. And yeah, it's a Sun talisman with the Sun tropically in Cancer because she's a sidereal Babylonian astrologer. So these are nice things happening. I want to go to the lunar mansion before I do anything else. So let's go over to the lunar mansions. I believe we're probably at the 25th because for the 24th I was doing other things. But actually, let's take a look at the 24th now when I'm looking at it. So this was yesterday. And yesterday we had a lunar mansion from 25 Capricorn to 8 Aquarius. And it's called the Mother. This is why I looked at it. It's called the luckiest of lucky. This was yesterday, okay? So good for asking for support, taking care of ourselves, acknowledging our desires, allowing others to assist us. So this is really beautiful. Don't expect someone to rescue you or ignore your own needs. Okay, so receive help, but not try to look for others to rescue you. Just a very quick, good for medicine, sending out enemies and soldiers, indifferent for journeys, bad for merchandise, jewelry, putting on new clothes or marrying. A slave bot will be strong, loyal, and good, bad for partnership, and will end in great harm and conflict. And for entering a ship, marriage will only last a while. If captured, he will soon be free. So it's good to free captives, probably. So good for increase of herds. When the moon is passed into this mansion, take a horn out of castrated ram, which is the best and most apt, and in it fashion the figure of a woman with her son in her arms, who is breastfeeding. In the likeness of who is breastfeeding. Sense it with mundatura, which can be made from aforesaid horn, and said, "You, Averine, improve this garden herd." After this, hang the image about the neck of one of the rams of this herd. If you wish to work or increase herd or cows, fashion this image with the horn of a bull and hang it around the neck of a bull, and the herd will be augmented, as it's been said. Death shall not overtake it. So this is for cattle. Victory of soldiers causes disobedience, hindrance, and execution of authority in the multiplying of herds of cattle. Woman giving suck to her son. Okay. The luckiest of the lucky gives marital happiness. So this is a contradiction that we have here, because Vivian Rapson says this gives marital happiness, although we are advised previously not to go there. So I don't know why is the difference. With the moon, build, marry, make friends, and travel. Favorable for marriage, Peter Stockinger. Enterprises and friendships, cast spells of realization of a wish. So perhaps it's good for a relationship, but there is the danger this relationship will end up in conflict. You need to look at synastries and composites and look at charts to tell that. This is a mention of nurture and nutrition. If we've been hungry, now we will be fed. Needs and desires are fulfilled. Fortune smiles and showers us with maternal love. So we receive support. Okay, this can signify literal birth, arrival of a new baby, so it's excellent for birth giving. And the fruitful project or creation, beginning of a fruitful project. Now the moon is decreasing, so it's not favorable to begin a new project today. but it can actually culminate one. It can have birth giving, but not launching. Launching you want for the mold growing. So this signifies a beginning, new ideas, positive answer to question regarding approach of good fortune. It advises us to act in loving and nurturing way. However, overall, this mention is most benefic. However, occasionally it cautions to avoid being smothered in all-consuming maternal atmosphere. So that is nice. Let's go to the next mention, which is the 25th, and this is the butterfly. And this is also not today. So this was 2 days ago, and then yesterday, which was the lucky hidden. This was 834 Aquarius to 2125 Aquarius. So the moon is already in the next one. It's the 27th. And this is the butterfly, auspicious for going slow, for patience and hope. Have patience, allow things to unfold when they are ready. Tap into source greater than yourself. Have faith and hope. Do not force a situation or get frustrated if things don't happen as planned. So Albie Rooney, the duck's foot. So according to the Arabs, these are not the only fortunate stars, for there are many outside the mention of the moon which are. Okay, so it's around where there are many fortunate stars, fixed stars. From Abenragel, good for besieging towns and encampment, good for quarrel, going into a quarrel, for pursuing enemies and doing them harm, for sending messengers, favors journeys southwards, bad for marriage, for sowing, for merchandising, for buying livestock. So this is when you basically want to kill someone or you want to attack. It's kind of like the defense that is an attack. Good for buying slaves, Dorotheos, who will be strong, loyal, and good. For building, which will be solid and durable. For voyages. So this is probably the last of the building stuff. But then to build something you want with the moon is growing. For voyages, though there will be delays, marriage will only last a while. Bad for partnerships, which will end badly and harmfully. And a slave will escape. So, Picatrix. This is protection of orchard and crops from evil happenings. When the moon is come, fashion a seal in fig wood, sculpted in a figure of a man in the likeness of one who is planting trees. Sense it with the flowers of these trees, and say you, Aziel, guard my crops and my orchards, and that any destruction or ill fortune will not befall on them. And this is very good for moon decreasing, because we want protection. Okay, so we want to decrease enmity. Place a foresaid image in one of the trees in the place which you wish to guard, and while the image was made continues there, destruction shall not befall these crops. And know that Aziel is the name of the Lord of this mansion. This is Picatrix, Cornelius Agrippa from the 16th century. Butterfly, unfolding, help, siege and revenge, divorce, prisons and buildings, speeds messengers, destroys enemies, helps, spells against sex to cause impotence. Okay, against sex or to cause impotence. So basically, if you want to protect yourself from rape, that's probably, that's the only reason you would want to do it, unless you want to curse someone with infertility, which I suggest you will not do. That makes for an unhappy return to sender, but it can be protective of your sexual boundaries in this way, perhaps. The preservation of trees and harvest a man planting. The lucky star of the hidden things or hidden place, favorable for besieging and revenge, destroying enemies, causes divorce, helps prisons and buildings, hastens messengers, hinders childbirth, and hinders the action of the body. With moon here, unfortunate for everything except taking medicine. You just want to heal on this day. Favorable for protecting houses and to strengthen buildings. Talismans to protect messengers and to protect trees and harvest. And I was thinking about trees and planting trees yesterday. So that's a synchronicity. When this mention appears, we may need to embrace its stead growing energy. In this image, the gardener is planting a tree directly over the spring, signifying that our plantings, our projects and endeavors must also draw from the source, the water of the wisdom and deep knowledge. This mention advises that we proceed according to the dictates of nature rather than those of men, machines, and artifice. The barren tree is without access to the spring, the water of life and wisdom. So, Sad al-Akbiya contains this paradox of growth and barrenness. The unguided gardener reaps only weeds, but planting with discernment brings success. Okay? That would probably something I'll go deeper into when the moon is growing in this lunar mansion. And now we have today's lunar mansion, which is the Muse, or Al-Farj Al-Mudkin, the Muse. 26th lunar mansion, it means the spout of the bucket or of the water bearer. Okay, so 21 degrees 25 minutes Aquarius to 4 degrees 17 minutes Pisces. And it's nicknamed here the Muse. If you're wondering about the site, it's magicandmastery.com is the site that I use when I am doing these studies. As great source, as you can see. When the moon is here, it's auspicious time to inspire love and beauty. Create or be inspired by the art or other forms of beauty, romance, and social engagement. So this one, finally we get a lunar mansion that is love positive. So calibrate on that today. Don't travel, waste time on what is boring or uninspired, pursue profit for profit's sake. So this is a time where you want the wealth to serve something greater than yourself, I guess. Al-Biruni, 11th century. Al-Farj, Al-Wheel. And Al-Thani, or Muqaddam, and Muakkal. I hope Muakkal are each marked by 2 stars situated in a spear length from each other, and all from Pegasus. The Arabs compare the 4 stars to a bucket dalu, but the 11th sign of the zodiac is so known. Farj really means the place for pouring out the water. Okay, so when you take the water element, I was thinking about the waters today actually. When we talk about the water, so you have the element of the water. We have like the water when we talk about love or eroticism, but these are often interpreted as the upper and lower handles are Quatan. Yeah, so this is the water in the water bearer. Aben Ragel, it's 11th century. Good for making a journey on the first third of the day, but the rest is neither good for journeys, not for any beginnings. Good for building, which will be solid and durable. Again, we are having a decreasing moon today, so it's more culminating something. For buying a slave who will be loyal and good. For entering a ship, though there will be delays. Bad for partnership. Okay, so again we have somebody says good for love, bad for partnership. Marriage will not last. If captured, he will be in prison for a long time. So this is the mention where we have Deneb Al-Gadi as well. Okay, so Deneb Al-Gadi probably deserves an episode of its own. It's basically about wealth redistribution and safeguarding. So it's good for protecting your property, but only if you are good. Okay. At other times when I was in between 2 homes, I would actually shown where to steal food from. It's like this is a place to steal food from, and I would say why, and say okay, this is why. Okay, I would also get the why from there and not from there. So how to be lucky in even thievery when I had to steal food in a great, like from some place that is a greater store. God forbid, not from private people. So that is like I don't think that part of Deneb Al-Gadi has been discussed enough. because it will redistribute wealth. It's not in itself, it will probably support you to do good, but it would also expose, if you're doing good and it shows that you're willing and setting it and you're being honest, then it will also give you information, teaching, and guide you on what to do and how to do in favor of wealth redistribution. And so it's also good for protecting property, but you must know, like you and also if you are in a situation where you're recovering from having to steal, recovering from doing crime, then it's also good to turn to the Nabal and ask for help. This is my experience. You may have your own. So Bigatrix. The 26th mention is Alpha Primus, and it is for creation of love. When the moon passed into this, take white wax and mastic and melt them together. From these, fashion the image of a woman with her hair unbound. Funny, I just brushed my hair today. And before her, a vessel placed to receive, as if to receive her hair. Sense it with sweet-smelling odors and say, you, Tagriel, brings me the love and friendship of such and such woman. Okay, this is where I have to interfere, because let's say you have a partner. Okay, if you have a partner and you just want to arouse her interest, then maybe that can be supportive. But if you don't yet have this partner, and we are in the shade of Venus, okay? Venus in her shade period, almost retrograde. So this would be a good time, maybe today, to do these ceremonies where you get to the essence of your desire. There are many ways to go there. Okay, when I was talking about manifestation, way before I did astrology, I was getting at the essence of, even people like Abraham Hicks, they teach to go to the essence of your desire. How do you want to feel? Okay, or what do you want to experience? How do you want to feel? Get to this essence and then bring in the things that contribute to this essence in a way that is actually real and sustainable. Then maybe you can make that, because if you do it for a specific person, you have to understand this was written a couple of centuries ago. None of the things we know about willing consent, genitalia well-being, okay, so good semen production, a good healthy pH in the vagina. Okay, vaginas get yeasty when they are not operating in willing consent, even in self-pleasure. Something you need to know. Sperm production is interfered when when it's the seed, it's Jupiter, it's the instinct to do good, it's philosophy, right? On the other hand, you can enhance. And when you get to the essence or to the root, with the seed or semen of the desire, then you can actually maybe use this one to manifest this, the actual, what do you want, okay? And that is a good time that we are to do that in around. But now this is actually a decreasing moon, so maybe it's a good time to strip off, or to strip off any misconceptions that you have, any patterns of desire and relating, and neural patterns even that you have. And I'm asking for myself as I'm saying this right now, that keep you from having this, safe, joyous, playful in a nourishing good sense, and how you see that I have Mercury ruled Chiron when I struggle so hard with saying playfulness, and that's the time to kind of ask to decrease those, okay, to decrease those, to let go of those, to release those. People want to say to burn those, okay, whatever works for you, so that you're basically purifying your essence, and then you attract what you actually desire, in as far as your path allows, and so on and so forth. And there's this saying, what you want wants you, okay, which is very relevant when you work with willing consent. When you work with willing consent, you purify the essence, and then what you want actually wants you. Because if a person gives you rejection, soon you will find out that they don't really have what you want. Or alternatively, it is not the correct time. Okay, maybe you're working on yourself, you're working to get, to improve your life, and you will enjoy this connection way more after that, or it's simply not the person for you. Okay. So when you work with will and consent, the funny thing about it is that eventually you see that what you want wants you. That's the positive. What you genuinely want, what is genuinely good for you, it wants you. What is not good for you, something will fall out. Something, you know, even if you think it is great, it's like, oh, I want like this. I want like this, and just, oh, I just need to find like this, but available for me. And so I had this position, I was in this position in my life, and then something happened, and I saw, oh my God, this is not what I want. Okay, I was definitely stripping off some patterns of whatnot. That it's like, okay, this is not what I manifest as a relationship. So it's a good time to do that today. So carry it with you. You should complete it as you requested. Now the tag wheel is the name of the Lord of this mansion. Now I'm not a person who is famous for trying to manifest specific others. What I can say is that people who did that say to have experienced that they get more than they wish, and then it's very difficult to get rid of it. Okay, so it's a kind of watch what you wish for, something like that. But then again, you're operating on the consent of someone, which is not something that you want to do, because eventually you, like we all want to kind of like choose and be chosen. And even if, however symbolic that is, because essentially it's a mutual desire. But there is this autonomy that is a part of the merging. It's a dissonance. So yeah. Anyway, Henry Cornelius Agrippa, 16th century, Tagal Mukaden. The first drawing draining 21 degrees 25 minutes Aquarius. Helps union, love of man, health of captives, destroy prisons and buildings. Destroys prisons and buildings. So, oh my God, I was just thinking about destroying prisons. Like, not, destroying certain structures that imprisonate people. Like, actually, when I came here to do this, I didn't know it. And buildings. So even structures that are not fit, that are not good, it's good to destroy what needs to be destroyed. Okay, kind of like a Kali wind of destruction. Love and favor. Okay, love and favor is probably the good things. A woman washing and combing her hair. So I was just washing and combing my hair today. What a synchronicity. I did not know that was the thing. But this is a good, you talk about the hair. Hair is ruled by Saturn, right? And brushing and combing is basically letting go of all that doesn't serve, right? Because it's literally, what do we have in our hair? It gets tangled up. So untangling of things is actually assisting in what we want. So I'm untangling my hair. And I remember even when I was like a Me Too veteran and I lost my comb. Okay, I lost my comb. Ra was in my 7th house and Ketu was in my 1st. So I lost my comb and I went to buy a comb from wood. And then I started like vehemently brushing my hair and removing like all the entanglements. And then I felt that I'm more in my own body. Okay, less susceptible to non-volitional, non-dual experiences that are of the 7th nature. Because like you are one with the opponent, or you're one with the enemy, or you're one with whatnot. And then as I was combing my hair, I was basically returning to myself. And again, I had to rush to buy this wooden comb and basically brush my hair. Today, funnily enough, I was doing that with my fingers. So, I don't know. Yeah. So that is how the hair is also our roots, but also a kind of another way to gain our sense of empowerment, simply to brush our hair and pamper our hair. And I was thinking about my hair today. I want to make a serum for it and so on and so forth. So that's very, very interesting synchronicity. Vivian Robson, 20th century. Al-Farg Al-Mukdim Beta sheet with Alpha Merkab Pegasus. The four sprouts saw off the water buckets. Causes union, health of captive, destroys building with the moon, and prisons with the moon here, plant, which I did, saw, bargain, marry, but do not navigate. And this is I have a funny story, because usually I'm a good navigator, but today I was not. I was just driving with my parents to my own house. They were about to help me to fix my house, get all the mess that that I have. And I was letting go, and I was allowing them to do that, allowing them to assist me. And we were just driving to my place, but I did not think about navigation. I was just dreaming, and we ended up driving, I think 200 kilometers instead of instead of half an hour, 40 minutes. I think we'll probably be in an hour and a half on the road. And we got confused, and then we got back, and eventually we got back to home. And I almost missed the turning because it was turning to a gas station. And I was like, oh, no, this is the gas station. It's the next one. And got stressed over it. It happened to us twice. So that was really, really funny. It's just not the time to navigate. So that was a nice synchronicity there. So Peter Stockinger, Al-Farj Al-Muqaddam, the first drawing, signification. Favorable for love and lovers, agriculture, marriage and trade. So unfavorable for overseas journeys. Make talismans to promote love and find a life partner. Magical protection and protection of travelers. Okay, so even though it's not so good for navigation, you can do something with it to protect. Again, because the moon is decreasing, I would put on what I want, but what I would ask from the moon is basically to strip off anything that disallows that just being, okay? To strip off. It's like we take off our clothes and we're stripping off all these onion, the onion leaves or whatnot. You just strip them off until you get to the core, until you get to the essence. So this is what the moon decreasing does. It's kind of strip off all of those, harassments. All of that is not unwilling consent. Strip it off. Let it go. Anywhere it's not that, just clear the view. Clear the view. So yeah, in that way, that kind of helped you purify us, so that we are ready when the time is right. We are ready to basically manifest what we do want. Christopher Warnock, 21st century. It is not the sexually charged passion of the 13th lunar mansion, but of higher love of the beautiful that draws the soul towards its true celestial and divine source. This mansion signifies love, marriage, friendship, and goodwill. If we're seeking love and this mansion appears, this is a positive sign. It is a benefic mansion. It gives positive answer in general inquiries. It also can indicate recovery from illness and health in general. Okay? Creme de la creme. Okay, really, really good. Really lovely. Great for relationships. Great for this. Great for that. So right now the moon is decreasing, but it can really contribute on all these stuff, right? So subtle attraction, benevolence, goodwill, love and friendship, favor, relationship. And if the moon is growing on this mansion, then again, if the moon is in a good situation, today you have to be careful, because today the moon is in 27 degrees right now, opposing Mars. And so it's not a good time to make talismans, right? But because the moon is with Mars, opposing Mars, it's a good time to sever ties with the unjust, to sever ties with that which no longer serves. It really is the time to do all those things that kind of purifies, kind of like you have building a statue, okay? And you have just clay. And then you're removing everything that is not of that statue until you just end up with the final result that is what you wanted to create. Okay, just remove the excess, remove the things that no longer serve. That's the time to do it with those things. You might want to even make a statue, I don't know. But then remember, you don't want to make it talismanic, because the moon is like, severing ties with Mars, is opposing Mars on the 27th on a mundane level. I told you what we've seen here. So, dead people from guerrilla war. I don't like, not my field of expertise to try and make a talisman with this and make it work. So yes, we are 35 minutes, and it's a good time if we talk all things Cancer and all things Luna today. Why won't we go to the full moon, the new moon in Cancer? Now I'm gonna make a stop and I'm gonna take myself something to drink. Okay, very much back. Now let's just look in Cancer, which is happening on July 17th, full moon in Cancer, new moon, new moon in Cancer, 24th degree. So I looked at it when I looked at the July forecast. There's a couple of things that I want to kind of zoom in. So the first thing is, not only is this new moon applying to oppose Pluto, okay, it is applying to sextile Neptune, and that's what it does. Okay, so it's Sun and Moon in Cancer opposing Pluto. But look where the nodes are. The nodes are, first of all, the nodes have already ingressed. They are in Libra and Aries respectively on the anaretic degree, the 29th degree. So Pluto is squaring the nodes, and the new moon is completing basically a rectangle, a square, yeah. It's basically a square. It's a full rectangle. It's like the rectangle is like the longer ones, but this is a grand square. No, yeah, a full grand square. You can't see it in here. But basically what we have here is this new moon opposing Pluto. Now this new moon, it's not an eclipse, okay? It's not an eclipse. That being said, often the things that amp up to something having an eclipse quality in terms of intensity on people who are affected by eclipses or have something in those degrees of the cardinal sign, the last phase of the cardinal sign, so Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer, ruled by Cancer or Leo. So Cancer or Leo risings, they're ruled by the Sun and Moon respectively. Those people are going to, like, on level from a lunation or a moon phase, a lunation that is like full moon and new moon, moon crossing the nodes or squaring the nodes with, like as with this one, in full-blown eclipse, with the eclipse ranges. This is the closest we have to having an eclipse or having a partial eclipse or to some degree even a full-blown eclipse affecting your chart. Okay, this is not just a new moon or a full moon. Okay, it has more impact because of the hard aspects to other planets. This gives us extra impact, even if it was nothing to do with the nodes. Okay? The opposition to Pluto, the applying aspect, gives us a very strong impact to this nation. Themes of power, regulation, regime, the power of the people versus the power of the bureaucracy, and so on and so, reflecting on certain things that happened, regulatory of Saturn nature, with Saturn being the ruler of Pluto being in Pisces. So we have healthcare system, marine studies, people who have addictions, elderly people who have addictions, people of color, of whichever, like if you are living in an area that is all black and it's the white, and the white people are kind of like the misfortunate, the fortunate of the few, so that would signify probably white people. This is my prediction. Okay, I don't know if that necessarily correlates. People who have lost, who have missed something, even stock losses, market falls, and all, like all of the above, it can be reflecting upon those. Doesn't necessarily mean that those things will happen. They can, but it can also be where we reflect upon. Okay, reflecting on the Great Recession, reflecting on the 2008 crisis, reflecting on the COVID crisis, reflecting on the state of the affair of the healthcare system. Okay, those are one of the things that happen. And now we get to square with the nodes. So it's not just the moon, the new moon, the lunation squaring the nodes, the supplying aspect. Okay, it's a tight orb. But it also Pluto. So what are the nodes? Okay, the nodes are basically points that we computed according to the moon. Okay, they're basically lunar nodes. Every planet has their nodes. We are now living in the, if I'm not mistaken, the conjunction of the nodes of Saturn and the nodes of Pluto, which is a big chunk of significant time. I don't remember exactly how much. That includes a lot of strife, a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges. They're very, very, very intense. Okay, so every planet has nodes. And when, of course, there is a crossing of the nodes, then it does affect to some extent. It triggers things we've seen around the eclipse of that planet. So I don't know the full extent of it. I haven't studied in depth all the lunar nodes, all the nodes of all the planets. There is the mythology of Rahu and Ketu, which is, by the way, it's not just the Rahu and the Ketu. There's also, it's like an X. There also are the sides to that. So let's say if Rahu is on the in a cardinal sign, like it's right in this lunation, it means the higher cardinal axis is being triggered. And again, I don't know I know a bit about the story of Rahu and Ketu and the snake that is being cut in half, and then the tail is Ketu and the head is Rahu. So this constant hunger of Rahu, it always wants more and more and more to consume, and then this purging, this letting go of Ketu, but also leaning back and also caring more about others than about yourself. It's kind of like the sage. This is where the soul has been, so it's less concerned about itself, it's more concerned about passing it onwards. While in Rahu, you haven't been there yet, so you're like hungry to go there, but also afraid, and there can be setbacks because you haven't done that. So you need to practice that yourself. So with this square and the ingress of the nodes to Libra and Aries, the special thing about this ingress is that we're switching from the nodes being ruled by Mars and Venus to the nodes being ruled by Mars and Venus, but in the opposite pole. And so if we have been purging Mars, okay, purging a view about anything that is Martian, okay, so old weapons, old view of the penis, old view of iron consumptions, how to get my iron, all view of certain types of metals, certain types of poisons. Okay, maybe we've been purging also poisons, oils, relying on oils, and so on and so forth. Some sort of fiscal, a way to run the fiscal game that is Martian. So this high drive, the hustle, we've definitely been purging the hustle. The 9 to 5, the grind, we've definitely been purging the grind. Mars is drive, okay, passion, ambition, drive. But it's also within Scorpio, it's kind of like getting to the core of things, the essence of things, the nature, thinking of things in terms of what is the nature of this person. We've been purging that, okay? We've been purging a lot of nature in the nature nurture and way more into what is Venusian. So we have women with a penis. We have how should I say it? We basically have through crisis, which is Ketu, because Venus was with Ketu, we have a higher importance on willing consent, sensual pleasure, having sex that is enjoyable, and its connection to fertility. Okay, as a holistic health practitioner, I'm not going to spill out the whole story because it will meet different people in different stages, and there's just so much that you can say generalized about this topic. Okay, thinking we've been purging the poison. So we've been also in a situation where the pill that was once life-saving and sexually liberating is now seen as constraining and harming to the fertility and the natural ebb and flow of the menstrual blood. Okay? And unfortunately, with the vaccine, a lot of people have been purging more menstruation than they would. Like we had cases of 60 years old, 80 years old, getting a vaccine, starting to bleed. We don't even know what. And issues around like the menstrual blood and stuff like that. So we have been rethinking things. Yes, Venus was in one of the eclipses with Ketu, okay? And so that was interesting, but it can happen with eclipses. And now we're switching to the other pole. So Mars will be with Ketu. There will be an eclipse where Mars will be in Libra. But in general, like the overall theme is where Ketu is going to be ruled by Venus, that is of Libra nature, okay? And Rahu is going to be ruled by Aries. So that is of Mars nature. Mars Aries is the head of the baby bursting out of the womb. Okay? Self-assertion, self-determination. I am. The appearance, I am. And I have been, it has been, I think, at least 6 to 9 months that I've been saying, if somebody defines themselves as a ball of salad, you don't want to mess with them because they will kill you for that it's that it can be that liberating, but it can also be that stupid. Okay? It depends on what we define ourselves at, and Aries is a new self-determination, self-definition. There's going to be a lot of the promised lands. People want to settle in make fertile land that is barren. Is very much an Aries theme. And all of that. Okay? So we don't have the full-blown eclipse with Rahu in Aries. Okay? It's not until probably October, November, if I'm not mistaken, that we'll have that. Okay, we're safe from that by now. But this is very much a lunation to look at what is happening in the world. What is happening in the world? Because it begins something And if we talk about the new moon as at least 6 months to a year span of life, of course there will be eclipses on it. Okay, so something is beginning now that will receive tremendous momentum, force, assertion, drive, direction. And with Mars, with Ketu, it can be a direction going backwards. Okay, just like with Venus, when Venus was with Ketu, we saw legislation prohibiting abortions, as well as the lack of the drugs that facilitate birth giving. So it was like the great leap forward that was backward, and yet it kind of instigated an even more growing understanding that the assertion of rights has to be so much so that nobody would even think of questioning it. And this is where, with Aries in Aries, we can expect to have very Martian women, and they are fighting, and to some degree the Mars will be with Ketu. So there's going to be a great leap backwards. It's kind of like, it can also be kind of like, we've chosen this government has made a reform, is trying to do a reform, but the reform is taking us backwards. Now the nodes are shifting signs, and now we're choosing this government. It's going to make a great leap to assert that which has been reformed, to bring it, not only to bring it back, it's kind of bringing back the bringing back. Okay, or more, in a more concrete case, if, let's say, abortions were not allowed, okay, then now it can be something so like twisting the palm in a certain way where it's kind of like, those who break willing consent die. Okay, that's pretty much the spirit of the things, because now women have had the understanding that at the core of fertility, there's willing consent. Do I want this seed to grow? Well, if this seed is nourishing for me, if this seed gives me space, if this seed helps me, knows that to raise a child, it takes a village to raise a child. If this seed is respected when I currently don't want to have, a baby. If this seed supports my dreams and accomplishments and this and that and that and that, and then you see how people slowly ease out of the many things that constrain them, and you're left with, instead of like 1 billion people that cannot have children because they cannot even dream about it economically, to a couple of people who are probably child-free and probably are just like, okay, we're gonna have this way to go about these things, that if something happens, we're gonna need help, and that's easily facilitated. It's not a threat to any society or anything like that. But that touches on willing consent. Okay, and you see what drives. If you've been doing tantra in any way, shape, or form, it's actual tantra, and it's not just sex, then you understand that even if you're not there, regardless of your gender, if you're not there, you kind of understand that when you'll be there, the world will look completely different. That a lot of the challenges we have are looking completely different, okay? Because the natural ebb and flow of in and out, okay, of you're kind of like repelling, contracting, repelling, and then opening up. It's kind of like repelling, opening up, repelling, open. It's kind of like a chaotic system, and then it get like the intervals get shorter and shorter. Then you have an orgasm, it's explosion, boom. There's explosion. It's kind of like a chaotic system that works this way, and it works in human relations as well, in communication and so on and so forth. So now it's kind of like, okay, now we got to the essence of that. This is the essence of that. We're going to get even more strict. We're going to get even more Martian about that, because that is all across the board. It doesn't matter what your vagina or a penis, or if it's gender affirming, not gender affirming. Well, all that doesn't matter. It all boils down to allowing the willing consent nature rather than thinking of nature in terms of penis enters vagina to take its course. And so and that is going to take us a whole lot of steps backwards to where we've been. Because it means that we need land, we need water, we need air, we need, what did I say, energy. Now we know what's energy. Anyway, so all people need that. Everybody needs land with a source of water, with ability to have energy, with infrastructure. Okay, with wind blowing in their, like, the wind blows, not a hurricane or whatnot, but everybody needs that. All people. And so there are many new formations of self-determination and self-definition on an individual level, and with Mars in the Venus on a political arena. Okay, explosion of new countries, booming, like it's like the baby boom of countries. I do not there's these rumors about Texas wanting to break out from the U.S. It's kind of like, hey, we don't do all that crap anymore. This has gotten to be crap. We don't want that crap. We just want to live and grow our crops, or something like that. I don't know the whole story of that. It's going to be a baby boom of countries. Now, of course, there are going to be attempts to take measurements against that. So what begins right now is something of that rethinking, reflection. There's a seed that's being sown. There is even a conscious seed, okay, of sowing this understanding that we all need land. We all need water. We all need energy. And it's also to understand what happens when you give people land, energy, water, the ability to travel, the ability to stay, leisure time. What ends up happening? Would they have something good to do with that? What ends up happening is you get a lot of people that are going to bring 1 or 2 children and are going to invest a lot of these children and are going to be very environmentally aware, even if it doesn't play out as like what it looks like in governments, right? Because they're not environmentally aware. It's not a washing that I'm talking about, it's the actual thing. They're going to be quite aware that if you cut so many trees, then you have to plant so many others, and use technology in a way that is supportive. They're going to be so much more aware of the water that we drink is what we put in our mouth and how it composts. And also, when you have willing consent, okay, you kind of know, like, you care about what you eat, you care about what you consume, because it's like, hey, we're gonna drink that. This is our delicious lunch or dinner or whatnot. So we're gonna eat that. We care about what we consume. We care about that. We care about lychees and pineapples being accessible. We care about not having hormones in our, meat or kettle or whatnot. We care about that. And we understand that people that don't have access to that, it affects their gut bacteria, it affects everything of that. This donation is in Cancer, so it's a lot about like nutrition, but nourishing food, okay, nourishing food, nourishing waters, nourishing relationships, and nourishing structures, infrastructure, okay? So a lot of that is already kind of in the making. And there's a lot of understanding that with Rao in Aries, there's a lot of understanding that I don't say private ownership, but like private territory, this is a very Taurian word, I guess. Private autonomy also means in land, because you think about it, if you live with someone, you have your house, they have their house. you have your land, they have their land. You might help each other out with the land, with the house, with the everything of it. But if you need to retreat, okay, and everybody is free to take some time to themselves and zone out, then that's possible. If people want to separate and each person maintains their own house, their own land, and there's this Kantian understanding that, you know, something is good is going to come for us both from that, then we already get somewhere. Okay, and I'm saying this exactly because I'm not stupid. You know, of course, a lunation opposing Pluto, it denotes of on a mundane world, there is a conflict between both the people and the leaders and the plutocracy. Okay, the plutocracy is at odds with both the leaders and the people. Okay, with the square to the nodes, there is a purging of the juristical system, the political system that we now know of, even to some extent, even political structure. Okay, Keto in Venus sign, Keto in Libra. The purging also of trade. Yes, there can be certain, it's not just that the entire trade center can go corrupt. It has already gone corrupt. It can go like corrupt. Can the entire corrupted by the planets, corrupt, you know, it can go boom. Okay, it seems to me unlikely that it would happen in this lunation, but it's not impossible. Okay, so somewhere around this, it can happen. Okay, the entire trade can go boom. And I'm not talking the 9/11 because we don't have, like, it's ground zero now. But it's like, I'm getting like Trade Center, World Trade Center can go boom, but it's already happened. So is it something like that? I don't know. Like, this is half channeling now. I have no idea. Okay, I'm not. Really, the entire world trade can go boom. This is what I'm getting. Yeah. Lilith is applying to square Uranus at this point. Okay, she's applying to square Uranus at the 22nd degree. I knew it's something. It's like, this boom is Uranus. It can also be a nuclear boom. And there is, maybe as a result, there is a push, a booming of self-determination value. Okay, Uranus is here sitting pretty on the 22nd degree. He is not triggered until like 2 or 3 days afterwards, when Lilith will square it tightly, probably. That's not to be, Uranus on the 22nd degree of anything is not to be ignored. Like, something goes boom. I don't know what with Lilith, with Venus here. It's kind of like Venus, Lilith. Venus is separating, Lilith is applying. And the moon, the lunation is separating. It can be that this Uranus explodes before the lunation, kind of like a couple of hours before the moon. Something explodes, okay? I don't know what. Okay, this is Uranus in 22 degrees Taurus. Something explodes. Yes, they can be killing the death of people, but it can be explosion of weapons. Okay, explosives of weapons, but it's not like weapons, it's Mars. This Lilith here, something explodes, like, can be like a female terrorist, can be even. Okay, I don't know what is it. It's a very, like, it's not a light lunation. As you have understood, it's not a light lunation. It involves the leaders, it involves the people, it involves societal structures, it involves self-determination, it involves like a booming of the old world. It's like something is booming of the old world, and then there is like just the dissolution in just like segments and segments and segments of things. And on the mundane level, to tell you that this looks pretty, it's not. Okay? There's nothing looking pretty about this thing. And I know it kind of like, oh, it's a lunation in Cancer. It's going to be very potent time for transformation. You think about the modern astrology, kind of like removing of the structures, reverse you know. Of course, that's what's happening, but it's kind of like, I can't help but thinking when I was with Rahu on in Cancer, and I think Mercury was entering there. I was half channeling. It's kind of like telling the literal person who was offender, psychologist, kind of like, I see something with children. I was having this moment like, I see something with children, there's something with Pluto, but it's kind of like underneath it is all, it's like this, it comes to do something, it's like it explodes, like everything that you have, it's like all of the traumas all together, something like this. And eventually what happened is he was violent to me. I had to report him, although he got promoted. Like that would end up, I would need to return to sender this, and he sent some stuff. So, but this is on mundane. Okay, I don't know what happened then on a mundane level. This was, oh, COVID. COVID. Horrid. Yeah, so that was kind of like, it's not an eclipse, but it's also, if I have to count like right before eclipse, this is a very, very potent lunation. Right before it, something can explode, because it can happen both when the sun is in the 22nd degrees of Cancer, but when the moon arrives to 22nd degree of Cancer, it sextiles Uranus. And this tells me that this explosion is actually benefic. But there can be death. Okay? It's not a hard aspect, but it's something people can tap into. There can be some death. And again, it's a harmonious aspect between the moon, and it can be even the killing of ideas. Killing of ideas, or even something to do with creativity. So, and this happens a couple of hours before the lunation. Then we get the boom, which is like this new moon is something. Okay. Well, a lot of people have been talking about this bank, this trade organization, this juristic system, this political system is going down. It's about to happen. It's kind of like the thing that, it's about to happen. That something like this is happening already. You don't know the one and why, what, when, what, who, the 5 WH stuff that you ask in journalism. Why am I getting journalism? Then Jupiter and Mercury will still be hard aspecting at this time. But yeah, if you ask me on a personal level, it's like, should I, duck and hide under the bed? No, there could be an earthquake and your bed will fall. So, but that would be the safest place to be, even in an earthquake. Yeah, said the person who lived on the very crack of where it's about to do that. I don't it can be, but there are just a lot of those stuff. And you'll have to understand, this is the beginning of something that has a cycle of 6 months and 1 year, and is within the beginning of the cycle of the lunations in with Rahu in Libra and Aries. Okay. Is it transformational? Is it for the best of humanity? Probably. Is it something that we're not going to see in the news in the mundane world? Well, some of it will be hidden, but it's not going to be something you won't hear about in the news. Um, and Mars will just be applying to oppose Saturn. It's within very tight orb, applying aspect with Mars opposing Saturn. So Mars in Virgo. It somewhat applies to trine Jupiter, but Mars in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces at this time. So I saw Lada with Trifon on Mars opposition Saturn. And one of the significations is blocked action. Opposing Mars and Saturn, even on synastries, on compasses, is something that I know is blocked action. Okay, somebody wants to do something, but it's blocked. Okay, fortunately, I had it with my offender in the academia. Okay, we had, I think, a Saturn. I don't know if we had the square or the opposition, but that means blocked action. Okay, what he tried to do, it was a lot of it was blocked. So that can also be fortunate in the sense of bad actions being blocked. It can also mean you kind of feel frustrated from your drive to do something. Okay, and with Mars and Virgo, it can be a drive to communicate, because Virgo is or to drive to heal something or something with certain frequency. It can be very like hardworking Mars, but it's not in its best position. Okay, Mars is way better, in Scorpio, in Aries, even in Pisces, it's better than in Virgo. It's not impotent in Virgo, okay? It can absolutely do stuff, but Saturn here is getting this blocked action. You're stopping you dead at your tracks when you're about to do something, because you need to build yourself up. And this is the position of Saturn. You need to rethink, you need to build yourself up. You need to, you not only need to pack a punch, but you need to hit in the right direction. And sometimes packing a punch, hitting in the right direction, you actually see that no punches are needed. And that's also something to be, like, there are many other good things to do with Mars. So that is also happening in the background. This lunation does trine Neptune. So there is an artistic outlet to this energy. This artistic outlet, it can be war songs, okay? It can be satire, but with here it can be music or I don't know. It's supportive of spies. It's supportive of the people who are missing. It's supportive even of people who have addiction. So it can mean if you have a relapse in your addiction, trying to heal from addiction, you have a relapse, and Mars is like, I want to take that bottle, I want to take that, smoke that, whatnot. Then Mars is kind of like stops you dead at your tracks. It can also manifest in this way. So, personally, if you have anything in the cardinal axis, the end phase, the final phase of the cardinal axis, that is 20 to 29 degrees Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, or Aries, it's going to pinpoint you, like you are wanted to the U.S. Army or whatnot. It's going to pinpoint you. You pay very good attention to what is going on there. Okay? So you pay very good attention to what is going on. If you have ascendant, Cancer in this final phase, you have been having Pluto opposing your ascendant for a while now. Okay? I'm less worried about you. Same if you have ascendant in the end phase of Libra. Pluto has been squaring your ascendant. Or the end phase of Aries. Okay? With Pluto, I'm like, you already seen this happening. Yes, it's going to take a couple of more turns because Pluto is going to be ingressing to Aquarius and then ingressing back into Capricorn. And only in November 2024 does it go, like S.J. Anderson said, for good into Aquarius. Okay, so it's not that nothing bad can happen, but you already go through this transformation. It's something that's already active in your life for a while now. Okay, it's not news to you. And so you have another chapter here. So depending on the way it's been going, you may find this relieving and releasing stuff. And there can be other happenings of that sort. Okay, there's something going, there's something progressing, and the best thing to do is to kind of like compost, you know, compost power struggles and delve into the. And also remember that Pluto is ruled by Saturn. I'm saying to you as a Me Too veteran, okay? This like I've seen this working. Pluto is ruled by Saturn. It means you're dealing with a structure, not a person. And this is very important because if you are ascendant Cancer, this is on your 7th house. So you think, what is going on with my partner? Nothing is going on with your partner. So everything is wrong with the government, because if your partner divorces you or you divorce your partner, then you are dependent on the country. You're dependent on each other's debt, each other's dividends. If you are living, in one country, but both of you are not from the same country, you might want to kidnap the children. You might, all these things that maybe they don't even want to divorce you, but now they're becoming aware of the power issue that's related to a certain structure within which your erotic partnership is within. It can be business partnership, especially can also be erotic partnership in this case, because you're dealing with how the structure of society affects your intimate life in general with ascendant Cancer. Pluto, the structure of society is going to tremendous changes. So if you're ascendant Cancer, okay, and I'll begin the ascendants from Cancer, 1 hour, 17 minutes. So ascendant Cancer, you must remember you are not dealing with your spouse, with your business partner, or even with an enemy. You are dealing with a structure. How is your spouse, your husband, your wife, your partner, your business partner, how is this person you're having one-to-one tight relationship with is a product of the structure that they're in. Okay, and I'm gonna say that as a Me Too veteran. This happened to me in academia. I knew very well that whatever happened to me, let's say you take this person and you throw him out of the structure. Okay, everybody who would come into this structure is going to end up being like this person. It would take a significantly special and unique man to not be like that. Okay, so I'm dealing with the structure, not the person. There's no point, it's not that don't hate the player, hate the game. It's more understanding that in the agent structure question, we are dealing at these times with Pluto and Saturn, we're dealing with the structure question. If it's nature and nurture, we're dealing with the nurture, and you cannot be their mommy or daddy. You can't. They need to reach it in themselves, but also there's a structure in society that keeps them from doing so. Okay, so it's pretty much like the state gets in your bedroom, unfortunately. Right? This can also be a bit with this Aquarius ascendant, because Pluto is in your 12th house now, and you really feel like the government is in my bedroom. Get out of my bedroom. Okay. And if you're ascendant Cancer, this is very much the issue. If you keep that in mind, you don't like resilience. If you keep that in mind, I am dealing with a structure, not a person. Whatever one-to-one conflicts that you have, they're not personal. I'm dealing with the product of a structure, not a person. Now this person, my wife, my husband, what they tell me, they speak the government to me. They speak a World Health Organization to me. Okay, now with Saturn in Pisces. They speak their academy to me. Okay, they speak what they've been indoctrinated. This is what they know. And this is what they speak to me now. And they try to get a position of power in the old way. Because whoever is in the 7th house for you is this partner. Or whatever Saturn is doing in your chart is this partner. They try to gain some position of power. Now they speak what they've been indoctrinated. This is how they know to find their power in the world. Okay? And that unfortunately can be incredibly disempowering for you. Like how do I find my power without, being reactive? I need to be responsive, not reactive. Okay? And it doesn't necessarily mean that any one of you knows better. It just means that you're just not dealing with the person who is speaking to you on the behalf of themselves. And they can be in fierce argument with you that has nothing to do with them. Because Pluto is here. Pluto is transpersonal. Okay? I was working for a sex education company, and the lady there had a partner, and she quoted on a marketing blog. She wrote about a conversation with her and her partner, and she said, well, my partner told me, can you for a minute leave the billions of women that you're advocating for outside of the living room and talk to me as a person? Okay, you might be very much relating to this now. And so it is not anywhere near the end of it. And there's a lot of listening to do and a lot of finding your power to do. And also there are a lot of things that you're not aware of, that you don't know. Okay? They just try to survive the cold, harsh reality of life. And that can be incredibly disempowering for you, because you need to feel loved, you need to feel safe. Okay? In this nourishing relationship. And currently, you need to revise what your sense of safety is. So if they were your teacher, now they are learning. If they were your student, okay, depending on what Saturn is doing, now they're teaching. If they were at the margins of society, now they're at the top rank. If they were at the top rank, now they're meeting the margins of society. Okay? Whatever it is, and it can be a couple of things all together, kind of bringing it all together, because this is what Pluto does now. It's kind of like bringing it all the ranks up together, from the CEO to the person, to like the cleaning person, to the person sitting in the street and kind of like wondering where they will shit today. And all of these characters that this significant other has been playing with Pluto in Capricorn are kind of like coming into some cohesive understanding of what it is to do Pluto in Capricorn. Okay. So I'm not so concerned for you. It's nothing new to you, but it's another one of those points where you're like, haven't we been through this? No, this is not yet the end of the story. So yeah. Ascendant Leo. So for you, this is happening. Verdammt, I'm also in the 6th house. Oh, this is mental gymnastics. Ascendant Leo, this is happening. Okay, Pluto is in your 6th house, but the lunation is in your 12th. So, all the movies about mental health that you've been consuming in the past, movies is good here with the trine to Neptune. I recently saw a movie about how does a research in medicine gets approved. it was in the mental health. I don't believe it's much different in any type of health. And there is, let's say, the pharmas are also owning, like the production of the pills company also owns a part of the like research companies, and then everything that is not the good results, they don't publish it, and only the good results they publish. And so if you are the doctor or the psychiatrist that's supposed to prescribe this, you get indoctrinated by people. People come to you that have no idea about medicine, but their work is to do marketing. Okay, their work is to do marketing, and so they come and they market to you this product, and you get a lot of amping up. But let's say you're not a person who's excited by marketing, you want to study, you study, and most of you will look at the abstract, and then you will look at the abstract, and from this you will extract what is the implication of this pill on these patients, because this is what you want to know. And this is the most horrid way that you can come to understand it, because so many people die. They die. And it's that much there that the person who was doing this, I don't remember the name of the movie, it was on YouTube, documentary. So I saw it on YouTube as a documentary. Of course, it was not the YouTube film, it was a way more serious production. And the journalist got threatened for their life, stay out of, I don't know, Washington or wherever they were coming, like really, really dumb and horrid stuff. And that cover up on a lot of death of people. And even the psychiatrists that are good people, they don't even have access to the information to make a good decision, let alone the patient. Okay? So you might be viewing those movies now, because this is happening in your 12th house of retreat, jail, hospital, mental health, and the bedroom. Okay? So, and now you are thinking how the structure that governs your physical health in this case is impacted. For example, maybe you have untreated, undiagnosed, maybe you have endo, maybe you have what you call this, there's this element where you have CPTSD or PTSD, you get inflammation, and you have like arthritis. Okay, and then they have a name for it. I don't remember the name. Not that one. I don't remember the name. Okay, but it's basically inflammation that is a result of certain, both from nutrition but also mental stress. Okay, you have a lot of stress, so you produce a lot of inflammation to kind of like cover up the stress. And this is also about the food industry, and yet another amping up. I saw a lot of things about food industry, documentaries about food, and I wasn't watching anything of that type, so it just came up in the algorithm. It's not because it's something I was watching, it's because it's a trend. So they just assumed I'm gonna watch it. And there's this, how there is cartels around food, and horse meat inside of beef and all that stuff. So you might be reviewing those things, you might be rethinking those things. There might be a movie that you see even that kind of, whoa, I had no idea that connects with that, connects with that, connects with that. And see, Saturn in Capricorn governs your physical health. So that is the bones, the nails, the hair. And I gotta tell you a story. I'm Pisces ascendant, but Pisces was going through my lot of fortune. I was learning aromatherapy, and I had a toenail fungi, just the simplest thing. So I went to my doctor, and she prescribed me something, and she said, but I don't know if they think that they prescribe you for the CPTSD, okay, allows the absorption. And then I studied aromatherapy, and I was like, well, the oils, like, they don't absorb well when you have that, so maybe go to the doctor. Okay, it's like like what you're taking for your mental stuff is not well absorbed. Now, those nails were the pinky and the other, like the second one, and they had to do with listening and with relations. Mind you, the thing that I was trying to heal. And so a lot of crisis later, I found myself letting go and I knew how to do this responsibly. Mostly it's very difficult because you need somebody to guide you through this if you're going through this process to do this responsibly. And it has to be from your desire and you're willing to do that, because that's very much effective. It's not, like you really need to, like, you need to listen to you. But the thing is that guided a certain process of me purging pills that literally nearly killed me. Like, I was in the ER, they did not diagnose me having sugar drops, and I was trying to do all kind of weird channeling stuff that came to me, and eventually I got rid of it. And I understood that for me, like, there are other things that are helpful, and those things were only to keep the doctors quiet and not worried. But it doesn't mean that that's your story. But this is how something like tending to the nail, and the nail is like the path in the way, and relational path, and so on and so forth, or the hair, or the skin, or the bones, kind of gets you to purge something that's actually mental. Okay? So you want to think about these things, because right now there's another point. You're starting something. If you're Leo ascending, you're starting something new in your mental health sector, where you find your power against certain structure that have to do. It can also be labor. It can also be if you're birth giving. It can also be around, study that. Like, study that. Because now you have the time to find your power within that. It's not an easy, like, there's a lot of purging going on with it. And there's also a lot of not throwing the baby with the cradle. Okay, there's also a lot of things you don't want to let go of. So it can be the kind of like holistic versus conventional medicine. There's not at all versus, and there's so many things I have to say about that. So that's where it's at. Ascendant Virgo. So the lunation happens in your 11th house, and that means Pluto is going through your 5th. Your 11th house is both dreams and goals, like the classic interpretation. It's also conferences. Okay, if you're giving a talk in a conference, if you're going to a conference, kind of like those callings, environment, and to some degree it can be mass media or social media to some degree. 11th house is also where you crowdfund or invest in crowdfunding, or the type of assets that require the masses. I don't say bonds because I don't know. Okay. I don't outrule that, but I don't say that because what I don't know for sure. But it definitely the type of investments that involve the masses. It can be crowdfunding. It can, to some degree, be digital coins if they are, because they're governed by the masses. So those things can have a certain new beginning that is both fated, and there's something that it can be something to do with your children. It can be something to do even with addiction, because it's the 5th house of leisure and pleasure. So you like, I don't even know what and how to say or how it can play out. You're composting the restrictions that you have over fertility. Okay. And there's a fated new beginning in crowdfunding. I don't know why, what, how, agenda, I don't know. But you're gonna have to like see how it works for you. You're the opposite ascendant from me, so it's kind of interesting, but it's difficult for me to delineate for you because you're literally my mirror. So I don't see, okay, I don't see how it plays out for you. But I'm ascendant Pisces. There can be something complementary there. Maybe you're kicking out addiction that allows you to be more self-governing and make more wealth or be more well-known. I don't know. But what you also need to pay attention is the nodes, which is in your 2nd and 8th house respectively, with Ketu in your 2nd. So you are actually going into you will be more reliant on whether it's your retirement or dividends or investment. Is like you're gonna make money from investments probably, or you're getting like social stuff like a welfare. So you could be going on welfare uh, for some reason. I don't know. Okay. Or maybe you're kicking out addiction. You're some kind of funding for that because you're not going to be able to rely on your income on that much. You can't because you just made a lot of income and now you're just investing it and learning how to invest, but you're going to have to kick out addiction. And you're in the process of doing that. Okay. Or you're going to have to tend to your fertility because now it's the time to do so. Or there's something with your child going on. If you already have a child, that they're going through something, some process, or they're joining because the ruler, I don't know, it's your child is ruled by Saturn. I don't know. There's just something going on there. But it's not going to be so much on the money of your second house income. It's going to be more managing wealth or managing the wealth of others or receiving wealth from like welfare or a joint venture that you've invested in, or like you're not going to be able to make money to rely on making money too much, or you're going to make money that is including another party. Okay, you're going to make dividends or whatnot. Ascendant Libra. So the lunation is in your 10th house. So this is the 10th house, 4th house axis with Ketu in your 1st house and Rahu in your 7th house. So your mother-father axis is going to have a tremendous impact on how you relate. And you are, anybody who is going through Rahu in the 7th house, listen up, okay? You are at your partner's. It's not because you have a pathology, it's the spirit of the time. It's just 1.5 to 2 years that you are at your partner's right now. Like you're purging you. Okay, you're purging you, unless you're dying, God forbid, which I hope is not the case. Right now, you are at your partner's. Your partner is going through something. You're all the way with them. It's not an unhealthy thing. It's a part of a process. And if you're looking for you will see it through that which I am seeing in the mirror. You're going to be much more exposed to those parts of yourself and your psyche that are usually masqueraded by you're just getting that from another person. So if you think about yourself and you say, what's Aries? Well, I'm a very partnerish person. I'm not the person who needs to be alone. Now you can find out that your partner needs to be alone all the time, or that you're looking for yourself right now and you're kind of like, well, I'm with this partnership. It's so suffocating. I really need to be alone. I need to find myself. But I'm kind of like, I am them. What is going on? Okay? And this is a very intricate, very subtle, a very difficult, and a very blessed at the same time. If you're tempted to diagnose yourself as being relationship, how do you say it, codependent, okay? If that has not arisen for you like in the past decade, and the only time you've ever been this way is like 12 years ago, 9 to 12 years ago, well, darling, before you diagnose yourself with insanity, check out who is your surroundings, okay? But it's also the case that you might be a bit more codependent for 2 years, and then it's a process that you're just going to extract you out of it little by little by little, okay? Unfortunately, with Pluto here, it can be crisis. Okay, when Ra was in my 7th, I was Me Too veteran. And that was not easy. And that was not easy. So it's not impossible that can be a crisis. Pluto here in Capricorn again signifies, just like I said for ascendant Cancer, you must understand this is Saturn ruled Pluto. You're not dealing with whoever the instigator of this is. And it's going to be at home. Okay, and depending on your relations between the 7th and the 4th, between Saturn and Mars too, you're not dealing with a person. You're dealing with a structure. And if you feel like, you might feel like you're going home, maybe to your parents, or having a dinner, or today, or his or her parents, and you're having a dinner together, and you kind of feel like you've embarked in World War II. They tell their military stories. They have these, ancient history of the way things were, and women weren't like that, or men weren't like that. Was für ein Mann, was für ein Mensch bist du? Okay, what kind of a man are you? What kind of a woman are you? How is that, kind of hit me when I got to the Netherlands, and the men there were like, what for a man is to behave like this to a woman, and kind of like really protecting of this old, like traditional, like macho style, even if they were like in their 20s or something, very young men. It was very like a different time of history. You might be having a similar experience. You are dealing with the structure. And there's something very fated about this experience. This can also be an experience if you are genderqueer or gender fluid, okay, like I am, okay? And what I like to talk in concrete cases. I remember when I was in Italy, okay? It was 2007 or so. I was in Italy. All the men were flirting with me. All the men. It was actually a gay man that I felt more comfortable around that was doing that, was serving us pizza. It was like everybody was flirting with me. So it both triggered me. And then there was another person who was flirting with me. And I said, oh my God, I feel a woman. And I like this. Okay. I like feeling a woman. I like it when a guy opens doors to me. Okay, so you can have these experiences that are like taken for something from tradition, something of the old. There's actually, well, I like to keep that. Well, I kind of like it. Okay, or I really abhor that. That's a no-go for me. And you're going to have it either the mother or the father or his family or your family. You're staying at, eating dinner or some social gathering. And the 10th house can also be your boss, okay? So you can be your boss or you as a boss, and there's just this, there's a beginning at work, or you're getting a promotion, but something happens at home that you have to take care of somebody, and there's less you there, okay? Not necessarily by bad happenings, but there's just less you there. And it is, even if it's a good thing, it can be a crisis, okay, as well. It's like the good news are a crisis. So, Scorpio ascendant. So Scorpio, new beginning in your house of traveling, academia, studies, philosophy, travel, worldview. And this is with Capricorn in your 3rd house. Now, it's not that you're new to Pluto being in your 3rd house. It's been there since 2008. Where is your Saturn? What is it doing? But also, your worldview is about to be, it's not tested. Okay, it has been tested. Okay, you're not done with these tests yet, but it has been tested since 2000. Everything that you believe about the world has been gone through a slow transformation by the merit of Pluto opposing your 9th, okay? So some siblings, somebody could have been instigating this change, a sister, a brother, a neighbor, and then you're like, oh my God, I changed my whole view. But it is not, oh my God, this moment. It's like looking back, it's like, oh my God, how have I changed? But now you're you're planting some new seeds. Libra is your 12th, and Rahu is at your 6th. Okay? Just like ascendant Leo, you could be going from, for example, maybe you have been suffering from moods. Okay, I have moods this, moods that, moods that. I'm taking antidepressant, anti this, anti that, antipsychotics, antibiotics, anti this, anti that. And then you actually find out that's like, well, with Aries, it's like, well, how's your nervous system been? Maybe how's your gut bacteria? Does it affect your nervous system? Oh, maybe you had mononucleosis. Maybe you're not moody and depressed. You don't have power now because you're moody and depressed. You have mononucleosis. Of course, it affects the nervous system, the virus that affects the nervous system, and then the endocrine system. Okay, or, well, maybe that COVID vaccine was doing something to my physical body that had these long COVID-like effects. Oh, maybe I'm bleeding in this way because of these 3, 4, 5 shots of Pfizer, Moderna, whatnot that I've taken, because that seemed, at least at that time, it seemed like the right thing to do. But it can also be something as simple as, oh damn, I have not been eating the way I like to eat lately, and I've been like really depressed. And you're starting a new health regime, new fitness regime, and you feel a lot better also mentally. Or maybe you're being released out of hospital. You're being released from jail, maybe. You're out of jail. Now you're getting fit. I'm seeing this YouTube, there was a short about the person who was in jail. He got out of jail, and he kind of makes like get ready with me videos. So he fixes everything. It's like military, discipline, and everything is fixed. Everything is clean, kind of like in the process to make a man out of himself. Maybe you're going through this transit right now, and it can actually be a very blessed thing. But your whole worldview is tested against your siblings, your neighbors, your neighborhood, and your communication style that is somewhat traditional because it's Saturn governed. So if you're studying academia, if you're studying studies, if you're going out to travel, you're gonna there's a pull going from your vicinity. There's something pulling you back to the 3rd house, where you want to go and start something in the 9th house, where your worldview is changing. And this also has to do with your 10th, because it's the sun. It's just like your worldview is changing, your conscience is changing, but you're being pulled into certain issues, like what about your neighbors? It can be like, I want to study, there's a student exchange. I want to study like in, I don't know where. Oh my God, we just had a case of a Ukrainian student that studied somewhere in the US, was kidnapped to Iraq. And now she's just held in Iraq. It's an Israeli-Ukrainian student. She's just held in Iraq. She's just kidnapped from the Academia of United States. Hopefully that's not the case with you, okay? So, like I was just, but you can think of like, I want to study. Let's say I want to study there. Oh, but what about your neighborhood? What about your neighbors? What about your brothers and sisters? What about the siblings, And then you kind of like, well, I want to do a degree. Well, where are you going to stay? Where are you going to where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And I've also seen a short about the Netherlands. So students in the Netherlands, and somebody in a short video on YouTube, she said, well, I've had, we were talking to students, and then one of us just said, well, I think I'm going to have to sleep under a bridge today. Like, the new housing is difficult in the Netherlands, but it's like, it's that difficult. Like, you can have the money, but not find a house. So Those are the extreme cases, but again, we are talking Pluto polarities, and it is Pluto ruled by Saturn. So there's something in the structure of your neighborhood that affects your worldview. It's not news, but there's another chapter of that now. Yeah, that's for the Scorpio ascendants. Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, this is happening in your 8th house, nullation in your 8th house, with your 2nd house being, kind of opposing it. Rahu and Ketu are in your 11th and 5th respectively. So, well, again, here you might be thinking about a new investment. You might be thinking about your 401k, about your retirement. You got to start running things differently. If it's getting out of debt, if it's getting into debt, like mortgage or something like that, you got to be like, there's something you got to do differently. And then you also have to take into consideration you're gonna spend more time doing things you like and less things you are publicly seen by. So it's not going to be, unless you have like the ruler of your 5th in your 11th, but you're gonna have a mixture, but you are going to be publicly known at later time, like in about 9 years, in about 10, 12 years. Right now, you're going towards doing things that you just like, that you enjoy, being with your children, maybe even having children, okay? That can also pertain to Scorpio ascendant, but maybe even having children. So, your 2nd house of income is being decomposed. It doesn't mean that you can't make money, but it can even mean that you even make more money, have a new beginning in your investment, and now you can spend more time with your children. But for sure, if you think I'm just going to be a public speaker, crowdfund my book or something, unless this book is about children in some way, maybe that can be remediative, but it's kind of like the 11th is what you're purging. Okay, when Ketu was in my 10th house and I tried to amp up my business, all I got to see is where my tax money goes, where my tax money doesn't go when I'm healthy and working, and I cross the tax brackets, 52% tax in Netherlands, some high percentage in Israel. So I just got to see what's working, what's not working, where are my taxes going, because I didn't think about this. Like I thought, well, I got funding for housing, I got to rent someplace, I got funding for university. I'm so blessed to be living in this place where there is welfare, and I'm so happy that I was paying taxes when I was young and healthy and working. I can't wait that I will overcome my traumas and be able to make money and be on the paying side of taxes. And then I saw that how easily a person can be in the street, how impossible it is for them to get out of the street, how much violence, and how the entire system is kind of organized for everybody to be in this situation where they're compromised and recorded to human trafficking and other stuff. So globally, and that was like, oh damn. So that's why my business got up jumping. Okay, Ketu was in my 10th house. Okay, promotion, career. It's not that I was not making money. I was making money, but I was not up jumping my business. I was not up jumping my career, my status. But actually going to see what happened. Like, where is my taxation? Okay, and that was something that I needed to know so that I can understand. I can come up with a strategy. Maybe 9 years, in 10 years, when Rahu hits my 10th, now I have more set. I understand more of things. Now you get this with the 11th, which is also a place of public figure, of crowdfunding, of giving talks, lecturing, any place where you're like very, very public to the masses. Okay, and it's not working. If you try to push, okay, here on that, like you're gonna be crisisly taken back. Okay, I was taken to freaking Netherlands when I was homeless. Okay, It's my fatherland. It's my fourth house. So that was, I was thinking, oh, the ninth. No, it's my fourth house. And I still wake up with a lot of Netherlands now. That's fourth house perfection. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it. Also of my motherland, that is Israel. But Gemini, fourth, two motherlands, motherland, fatherland. But for you, it's going to be leisure, creation, creative, children, maybe having children, maybe your inner child. Sometimes your inner child. Okay, when Ra was in my fifth house, me little. I was operating for me little in the world. It needed time. And if you try to do it in the 11th, oh my God, like it's going to be crisis. But with this particular Pluto placement, you might try to make money. You may say, oh, I have a newborn child, or I want to have a child, or oh, my child like is having their new beginning in their life, whatnot. I want to make money for them, so I'm going to crowdfund my book. I'm going to give a lecture about this. I'm going to be activist about that. It's like, no, freaking spend time with your child. This is the cosmic times to do so. It won't seem like it. Okay, that's what I have to tell you. And your ruler is in your sixth house, so you kind of feel like you want to work. Like you can actually have children at this time. It can happen for you, even fated. Ascendant Capricorn. So this lunation is happening in your seventh house. Now, what you need to understand, especially if you're in the last degrees of Capricorn, your significant other is going through a significant change. It's fated. Now you're regurgitating the structure. Okay, you are the government to them. You're the Pluto person. You are controlling, darling. You are controlling. Okay, and because Pluto is going through the final degrees, if you have a ascendant there is just going through your ascendant, it's just a continuation of it. But your partner might break free or set boundaries to you. It's like, no, this I don't want. No, this is not happening. Now you're not coming to my house. Okay, and you are amidst this Pluto stuff, and you're gonna have to rely on tradition. You're gonna try to rely on tradition, but Saturn is retrograde in Pisces, in your third. Okay, it's like, oh, but I am your partner, but I am your this, but I am your that. But we need cooperation. We need to have a parent who has ascendant Capricorn. And like they have a moon in Virgo, which is my seventh, my moon in Cancer, which is their seventh. It's like, I want cooperation. It's like, I can't do this. If you don't let me go, I become a fear. You don't want me Nazi, okay? You want me human being? Okay, give me some time off. So moon in Virgo. So, but the thing is that you might be too controlling now. You might be too controlling. There are things that you're realizing. So you understand the depth of your understanding and exposure of things is not incorrect. Okay? You're trying to impose that on your specific significant other who is having a new beginning in their life now to do with their finances and the renewed sense of self-value. Okay? You are too controlling, darling. So and this, because Pluto is in your house, then it's probably, and you need to see the synastry. Maybe they have natural Pluto like against your ascendant or something, so they can respond in an overbearing way. Okay, then it's difficult to recognize who is who. But what you can own is your own Pluto. Now you are preaching to them your lineage, your ancestry, your philosophical religion endeavor. I'm having like the peacock, like spreading your hand like you're like the peacock, and they're like, darling, I'm having a new beginning in my life, a renewed sense of value, and like I appreciate that peacock and all, but I really need to be now me, myself at this time. Okay, so they're having a renewed sense of self-value, renewed sense of who they are. is completely, depending on where the moon is, who there is completely changing. And when you're coming with, whoo, this is my lineage. and they're like, they're somewhere else. Okay, and that somewhere else that they are at is right opposing where you are now. And that means you really need to hold your horses. And with Pluto, what is Pluto doing in your third house? Because you are dealing with a significant other, partner, spouse, whatnot. It can even be child, if your child has placements in Cancer. Yeah. They are having a renewed sense of self. There's a new beginning in their path. There's something new happening in their path. And you're coming with all of these ancestry. Okay, Saturn is ancestry, tradition, religion, traditional views, or your own path is now traditional to who they are. And where is Aries? Aries is in your fourth house. Okay, for them, it's in their 10th house. So you gotta understand the oppositions here. You really gotta understand the oppositions here, because they're heading towards a promotion, towards dealing with their father, mother, whatnot, towards a higher stand in society. You're heading towards growing the house. And you know what? You have to understand that if you won't be that controlling, it's actually complementary. It's like they're going to be the breadwinner while you're going to be the retired mommy or daddy. But if you bring the traditional or the lineage or the religious view you have, and here it's about health, medicine, sibling, daily routines. Okay, you may have traditional views of daily routines. You and your partner might succumb to think that you are in opposition. You're absolutely not. You're just too controlling. You need to surrender your traditional view and try to really think, what do I desire for my home? How does my home look like? They might be they might get you that home. Just let go of them. Okay? And it's not, I know it's very difficult. Good things to do. Saturn rules the skin, rules the nails, rules the hair, rules the teeth. Okay? Get your teeth done, get your nails done, get your hair done, all of these things. And not to seduce somebody, but to honor Saturn. And now it's, Saturn is in Pisces. Find yourself a good election and you can really rejuvenate your skin, have more lotion, something liquid on your skin, on your hair. Okay, I was thinking about serum for my hair with Saturn in Pisces in my first. So they have like this marine ocean colored nails, if it's, in a way that is healthy for you. Or like really with Pluto, you want to transform. So transform the cellular structure of you. It's in your first house. Pluto is in your first. You just keep doing that. Okay? And when you feel like, oh, I want to preach to my partner, then you're going to take that back and have a lovely beauty procedure. Or maybe you need to beautify others. Like, I don't know what's going in your chart, but definitely you need to understand that you are heading to growing a home. And if you have ascended, somebody's in your other is being the breadwinner. And you might be a woman and the other partner is a man. It's like, oh, this is too traditional for me. I don't want to not work at all and to have my partner being the breadwinner. No, I want to have a position in society. I wanted to have this. And then you can try to push at your 10th house where it's not yielding. It's not the time to do that. But on the other way around, if you take Pluto to transforming your body and yourself, and that other person is having, you can have like dances when you have dance in salsa. Okay, salsa is a very traditional dance. You can switch roles, but it's still traditional, right? And so with salsa, you hold hands, okay, and then you lean back, and that tension that you have, this is the opposition. Okay, that tension that you have brings you back. You hold hands with the partner, and then they pull on you, and this tension of going back and pull on you, okay, pull back to you, and your partner will pull on you. It's like, look at me, look how I've changed, look how I've grown, I got my hair done, I got my this, and and this can actually be a beautiful dance in this way. Because if you try to turn your partner into something which can be controlling with the first house Pluto, what can happen is you're losing someone who could very well be, and what you will eventually resolve, or you could very well be the partner you will resolve it with. And you kind of like, why not get it right the first time if you can, because you can. Most cases, this is the case. Okay? And it can be also that you're the man and you're like, well, you're going towards growing your family, or like your wife is pregnant and now she's got a promotion. It's like, how are you going to raise the baby? And you're just like, and she looks at you, it's kind of like you have not been working for the past, and you said you wanted kids. So I'm going to bring the money and you're going to help me with the child more. Is that a problem? And you're thinking back to, what will the neighbor say? What will my sister say? Why you haven't been asking that when you were not working in COVID? I got myself a job. So you'll help me with the kids and I'll have time to be the breadwinner. What's the problem? Okay, and there is no problem, because the cosmos is saying that you are growing your home and your significant other is growing their career at the same time, and then it will go differently, because they will have Ketu in Aries in 12 years and Rahu in Libra. Okay, so now they will be doing home and you will be doing career. One partner works, one partner this, one partner that. Okay, I'm changing my own views as I'm seeing that, because like, oh, this is how the eclipse goes. Just that's how it goes. Whatever. Ascendant Aquarius. So Ascendant Aquarius. Cancer is your 5th house. That means Pluto is back to your, no. Ascendant Aquarius, Pluto is in your 12th house. Pluto is in your 12th house. Did I do all that for Cancer? No. And Pluto is in your 12th, and Cancer is in your 6th. So Pluto is back in your 12th to wrap up some things. But there's a new beginning. Okay, it may be you're having a new job, or somebody's giving birth to somebody, or you're having a new job, somebody's giving birth to somebody, there's some enmity at work, or you're having something with your physical health. It can actually be an improvement of health here, but there's something from the 12th that's pulling you back. So that can be you're trying to have a new eating regime, nourish your heart, go into fitness, but now you're dealing with, let's say, pulling up against depression, or there's some enmity that you have, some hidden enemy that you have that you're not aware of, and that's affecting your health. You don't really know what's going on. So it's kind of like those things. I'm looking at where Aries is your chart, and Aries is your 3rd house, with Libra being in your 9th. You're gonna go more to your immediate surroundings. You're not gonna be international as much, and you're not going to Like you may change your worldview, you may purge old worldviews, but it's more about your local environment. Far away lands are less the issue as well, because the 12th is not like being emphasized here. It's more the 6th house. So you could be, walking your pet, which is also the 6th house, in your surroundings, and have more communication with your neighbors, and that can be way more satisfying than traveling, and you might be traveling less. So or you might have a staycation where you're like with your surroundings. That's more like it. If you have a pet, then this is a good time to protect your pet. May like take care of their health, protect them, keep them. Like another thing, it can literally happen like that your pet goes, like somebody tries to get your pet or something like that. Make sure that they have all the documents. Make sure that if they need like a restraining on their mouth so they don't bite anybody, so they won't get taken away from you and put down to sleep, make sure that you have that handled, because there might be hidden enemies that want to do that. They might want to get you or get at your physical health or get at you through your pet. um, I'm not about like making you worried about spells or anything like that, but all of these things are possible. So, or you could be desiring to get a new pet to kind of fight depression, um, like, something of that sort. And that's okay if you're planning on going in the neighborhood. Mars is opposing Saturn, so new action in your third house can be blocked. Okay, that can some drive, some action that is in your schedule even can be blocked. So you need to take that into account. And if you feel frustration or something amping up in your physical health, that like this too shall pass. You might also have a time of like some sort of recovery, or through the physical get at the non-physical, which will take some time, but you can begin. Ascendant Pisces. So ascendant Pisces, Cancer is your 5th, Pluto is in your 11th. So 5th house, there's a new beginning. You might be thinking about fertility, enhancing your fertility, creative endeavor, something that you just like doing for pleasure. If you have any addiction, you might have an, kicking, pushing that out. And then you will look at who are your colleagues. Okay, if you're around colleagues that have habits that you don't like, that's a time where you're gonna have to like do more of what you like and less be with them. Aries is your 2nd house, Libra is your 8th house. So you're gonna be making money. Okay, you're gonna be making money, and there you can get out of debt. Okay, this can mean you're purging debt. It can also mean that if you have been relying on somebody else's income, slowly but surely that will no longer be a part of your life. I know I am recovering from having to be dependent on welfare, and I've been trying to like kick at it, and I don't know where to start. But I know the trial is going to my 2nd, so like probably it's going to happen. I just don't know how, like how to jump start that so that I keep maintain my well-being. Um, so you might be having a similar experience, or you're profiting because Mars will also be in the 8th. You're profiting of your dividends, of your own taxation, of your own investments.
You might be profiting off of that as your income, you're cutting dividends, or you're getting paid by the dividend. I've been having this desire to get paid by dividends um, for a while now, and that is something that I see as a Pisces ascendant. You might desire to get paid by dividends, but that also means that Aries is about being a CEO of a company. It's not an employee. So either you own a company or you're the CEO of a company, you get paid by dividends. Um, and that means that you're going to have to put to use the 12 years that you have been going through. And that is either going to support your child or there's a new beginning relative to your inner child, whether it's self-parenting and you're gonna be purging a lot of your colleagues, simply put. And it can literally mean that while you have been, let's say, receiving renta or receiving even retirement or whatnot, then there were social groups, there were conferences, there were groups of people that you've been a part of that you're no longer going to be a part of. Okay? Again, it's not going to work for you anymore. And Pluto is like you either gonna let go, or it's just going to be taken away because it's not serving you anymore. It's enough of that. Pluto is heading to your 12th house. So it does mean that you will be needing to purge a lot of the surroundings in terms of your colleagues, even your dreams and goals. You've been doing activism, okay? It might mean that that's going to take a really significant turn. In this new beginning, you concentrate on your inner child, on what you really like doing, on what would you do for leisure. One question I have for you is worth regurgitating, or how you pronounce it. What would you be doing had money not been an issue? Because that's what you'll end up doing for a living. Okay, with this one, unless you have something tremendously different going on in your chart, everything signifies to I'm not going to be able to rely on any other party, and I'm not going to be able to rely on my colleagues. Whatever it is that I like doing for leisure time, going to be there's a new beginning there, and it's the beginning that's going to set the tone for the eclipses, for fated events. I better be doing me, because Aries is doing me or doing you for a living, and in a way that's pleasurable for me and expresses my inner child, and pay dividends from that. Whether you're the CEO of a company, what would you be doing had money not been an issue? The only way that you will ever be profitable is if you'll do just that. Okay? Yes, Pluto is about to go to your 12th. So, but again, Rahu is about to go to your second. So Pluto will be 20 years in your 12th, but Rahu is going to spend some time in your second. You're gonna like get paid big, and like I don't see the how or the why or the whereabouts. There's a very obvious contract with your very existence, with Saturn in retrograde in your first house, the house of life path, that says, I am purging, dreaming about what is necessary. Okay? Because Saturn ruled 11th house, your goals and dreams are what the world needs. What's needed? I'm going to gain a top position by applying to what the world needs. Or what is the name of the game? I'm going to play that game and I'm going to win there. But who do you deprive? You deprive your inner child, which has an effect of your entire being. And here you're kind of being put in a situation where you're gonna have to do you to make a living. It's gonna have to be doing you to make a living, not doing what's necessary, doing what is within your values. And your values are self-assertion, originality, innovation. And with this new beginning in Cancer, the child's, whether you're going to have children or the inner child here is you in this reading, it's going to need, you're going to need to provide for it. So you're expecting to get paid big or else. Okay. And it can be with with Mars in Libra, it can be the case that you will be making some investments, some stock. In any case, the child spirit is going to have to be preserved, because you're going to make money at this. It's going to be you, even if it's the most boring, like JP Morgan stock stuff. You're going to be the JP Morgan of the 22nd century or something like that, because this is really where you're heading. This is also where the world is heading. And you're going to see that the things that will bring you with Pluto in your 12th, you probably are going to be one of the people who bring, here it's also investment, but not only, but who really get at the source of wealth of society at some way, shape, or form. And your skill is literally self-assertion and autonomy. Like, this is what you have going for you, is the I am. That's all I can say. Ascendant Aries. So Rahu is going to be in your first house of whatever I said about Ascendant Pisces. So extend times to some degree is going to be you, because if you're ruled by Mars, Rahu is going into your first house. You are, while you can be prone to accident at this time because it's more accentuated on the body and you're ruled by Mars, but it can also be kind of like a happy accident where you gain a lot more than you lost. And that can happen in a kind of a happy accident kind of way. It's not necessarily happy. And Capricorn in your case is the 10th. So, and Cancer is the 4th. Your life path, you are being called to focus on you. It's less your partner, it's more you. It can even mean that you're growing the household, you're buying a real estate, or you're quitting a job because it's not going to yield. But definitely it's the opposite of, Ascendant Libra. So it's less about your partner, it's more about you. Yes, there can be breakups. Doesn't necessarily mean that there will be. You assert yourself. Chiron is in your house. If you're 50 or having a Chiron return, I recommend that you turn to Tom Jacobs, who is 50, is having a Chiron return and is channeling stuff and is having a Chiron seminar that I'm actually thinking to take because it's my 4th house perfection. I have Chiron in my 4th house, which is Mercury ruled. And Mercury is in Aries, by the way. So I might be taking this course. I'm only 39, but I might be taking this course to kind of amp up for my 50s. So if that is, but if Chiron is just transiting, it's not, you're not 50, it's not your Chiron return, then something about your life path, there's a wound to be healing there. Or if you're starting something new, it can bear the mark of a 50 years cycle of healing. Now, that being said, on a mundane level, the atomic veterans were silenced for 50 years after they
through the bombs, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Um, a life path of Aries can have to do with intelligence, with military, with all of these operations. We don't control. I don't know if you were born within the eclipse. We don't control history. It's not impossible that you're beginning a cycle that will have a 50 years. Oh my gosh, I really need to talk about this on Monday level. Oh my god. You're beginning a cycle is going to have a 50 years time stamp of a wound that needs to be revealed in 50 years. So I'm thinking about the Yemen children kidnapped in Israel. I'm thinking about the atomic veterans, perhaps to some degree the Watergate, but the Watergate I think was discussed at its time. Something that takes 50 years to reveal, of militant operation, of unfortunately also genocide, because it's self-determination of another group of people as well. Individual property, individual something. So there can be that mark to it. And so it's a new beginning for you, but there are issues. And this is on, I totally have to do a separate video on this. Justice, Chiron, and Aries with Rahu. Just justice observation. I need to look at it myself. Because there's a wound around anything that's being created at this time with Chiron. You need to know that. Cancer is your fourth house, growing a house, buying an estate. If you're buying an estate, it can be that there's something around the estate, your upbringing and your children, like something's been very affected by your being in a certain position in society. Okay, you can get in a promotion, and that means while you're actually being called to also be at home, maybe your wife is pregnant and you actually got a promotion, so you need to attend birth at Zoom, and that creates all kinds of conflicts and so on. You have to assert you, because it's less about your partner here, but the home is growing. Maybe not a baby, like something about this. You're growing a home, and it's you. You might even be a single parent with this one. Ascendant Taurus. So for you, the lunation happens in your third, with Pluto in your ninth. It can be something like growing a garden, even. And your, I don't know, religious neighbors, or it's like some regulation that's coming from abroad or international. It can be siblings, it can be communication, your schedule. You need to find your own, you try to find your own power within setting your own schedule. And your worldview is kind of shifting from being traditional to exploring various traditions. That's been ongoing since 2008. Rahu is in your 12th with Chiron. Accept the 12-year stamp on whatever happens in the coming 2 years, and understand that it's not forever, but it's also, or 9-year stamp, and it's also, if it takes time to recover from whatever happens, it's the cycle of eclipses. Okay, because the 12th, given the fact that hopefully you're not going to die, it can be retreat, isolation, and because of Chiron, you will have difficulty to even get relaxation in this retreat. Whether it's hospital, you're thinking about hospitalization, but the state of hospital is horrid, and they don't really let you be yourself there, or some way you'll find yourself in jail, or you're thinking about exploring something in the bedroom, but you have impotence, or it's gonna be something like that. But that you get deeper into it and deeper into it and deeper into it, and that's 2 years where it's less about your physical health, it's more about your mental health, and you're gonna have to do new stuff to maintain your sanity. And that is not necessarily a bad thing, although the 12th is kind of a cry. You didn't know that you didn't know that. So that in itself can be very surprising with Chiron there. It means that you're going to have to sift and sort what works for you to maintain your mental health right now. Whatever anybody is going to say to you, including me, is going to apply partially. It's kind of like all the solutions are like a Swiss cheese that you have to pick the holes and kind of fill them up yourself, so that it will work for you. I just send you my blessings. Ascendant Gemini, last but not least. So this is the lunation happens in your second house with Rahu in your 11th and Ketu in your 3rd. While you're beginning a cycle where you're going to be called to make money abroad, make money from academia, make money from something religious, there's a Chiron wound there. Okay. And that's just something you're going to have to like put up with in some way, shape, or form. You're tending to a certain wound. It will take some time to heal. And that's beyond the scope of the eclipses, even if I'm not mistaken. And you're asked, like, there's something new about your renewed sense of self-value. All the while, you're completing something in your house of like investments, death and rebirth, and so on and so forth. You could even become a parent, and that gives you a new sense of like values, like, oh, the parent in me is born and now I have more self-value, or I have to find my own value as a parent. It can also mean that. While actually, with Chiron, no, it's not uniting Chiron, it's the 11th. So it's the 11th, so that means more public work. Okay, so more public work. Maybe you're having certain agenda, but you kind of like, if you are fighting for something in society right now, or for society right now, it stems from a womb, and then you really need to find your own way to contribute, to make a contribution, and it might be very person specific, what works. So that's the tip I have to give to you. Like, enough of that, I really need to do a video about Chiron in Aries with the notes. Thank you very much for listening for this very lengthy episode. I hope you have enjoyed that. I hope this made a contribution. And I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.